Alright, I thought I'd do a quick video about the Taranis Q X7 and the Taranis X9D. This radio will set you back about $105 US, give or take, and this one about $185 US. So what does your $80 extra get you in this radio? Well, first off, they both run OpenTX. So they'll both run OpenTX 2.2. The X9 will run older versions of OpenTX, but you may as well run them on 2.2. Newer is better. They've both got they both use the same receivers. So they've both got the same radio, run the same protocol. They're both full range radios. Give or take, they've both got the same radio unit. More on that in a bit. They've both got speakers on them, so they can both read out telemetry values for you. That's one of the Taranis' best features. For the radio side, the X7 doesn't give you an SWR rating, which only really matters if you're going to be doing an antenna mod. Honestly, there's probably no point. Both these radios will get you around 2 kilometers of range in the right conditions. You're probably not going to need more than that. If you do need more than that, then fair enough. The X9 is probably going to be the one that's a bit more useful, but there are other radios as well. So yeah, that sounds like they're the same radio. So what are the differences? Well, the first obvious difference is the form factor. The X9 is a little bit thinner. You can see how it's sitting on the bench a little bit lower. It's not much thinner. It's also a little bit wider, and with the extra width, that means the gimbals are just a little bit further apart. Personally, I prefer this form factor. It sits in my hand better. The Taranis is a bit closer together. I know a lot of people that prefer this form factor though, so it's not really one better than the other, it's just different. Taranis also make FrSky also make a Horus, which is more in line with this form factor. It is much bigger and has a nice colour screen on the top, and is a lot more expensive, and I don't have one. So that's one difference at least. It's not a big difference, but it's a difference. So some of the more obvious differences are the Taranis has some extra switches. These are 3-position switches, same on both radios. These are 3-position switches. At the back here you've got a momentary switch and a 2-position on this side. And the Taranis has a momentary right down the back here and a 2-position switch here, exactly the same. But just above it, these 2 extra 3-position switches. This one doesn't. The X7 doesn't have those. So you get 2 more switches on this. That's always good. You also get the side sliders, which are obviously analog inputs. They've got a little dent in the side, slide up and down. There's one on each side. I hope that's come out. Yep. And yeah, that's a nice little extra input. In addition, the X9, at least the Plus, has another connector on board where you can cable your own little analog switch in, so you actually get an S3 switch. So it's got more inputs. That's good. That's a benefit. It also has these crappy buttons. This is probably one of the worst design features I've ever seen. Using these is very difficult. These are prone to breaking as well, although these ones haven't. I've had this for a couple of years now. This is fine. The X7 has this lovely little knob. So far this has been a far better way to navigate through the menus. You also press that for a switch. That again though is personal choice. So the other main noticeable feature is the screen. The X9 has a much better resolution screen. It's bigger, so it's obviously a lot wider. And it can display more information. OpenTX doesn't really use that very much. They do put a lovely picture of your... Actually, I'll turn it on.
Welcome to the FR Sky Taranis.
See, it's got a lovely picture of your model there, whereas the
Welcome to OpenTX
X7, when it finally starts, It doesn't have room for it, so you can page through to, yes, that's the same screen. So they both show you your sticks, which is good. Both obviously work, but this one will give you a little model in the middle. That's not a big deal, really. It does mean on the telemetry screens, I don't have any telemetry screens set up on this one. You can actually display a bit more info. That's another feature. That one's got an on-off switch. That one's got a soft switch. I prefer the on-off switch. So yeah, you can display a bit more telemetry information on the X9. So the other main feature between the two, we'll switch them over. Well, they've both got, whoops, both got module bays. I've lost the cover on both of them. The X9 comes with a battery. You'd think that wouldn't be a particularly great feature, but it does come with a battery. I had to take the back off, make my own battery for the X7. You will see I have a video. Ooh, probably don't want to be doing that. That off. So yeah, I had to make my own battery for the X7. I will put a link to it, I think here. Maybe it's at the top. It will be at the top, won't it? And whereas yeah, the X9 comes with a battery. Not only does it come with a battery, but it comes with a built-in charger. I need to move it. I don't know whether you can actually see that on the camera. There's a little charger plug there. So this one will come with a little wall wart that you plug in and you charge the battery inside the radio. You can get mods for the X7 which give you that, but out of the box for your $105 you do not get a charger or a battery. So you need to take that into account. That's fine if you've got a charger, which obviously I already do, and it's fine with the batteries because you can make them for about $10 or $15, so that's not so much a big deal if you've even got them laying around. It does come with a battery tray. I've got mine sitting over here. Whoops, and it takes 6 AA's. Some people actually prefer that because they're just AA batteries. You can run the whole radio off of your AA's, and when they go flat, you just replace them really cheaply. So the other features, those are really the main features of the radio. The other things is the X9 is an older radio. That means you've got better accessories. Mine actually came with a hard case, and you can get a soft case for it as well. So there are cases that FreeSky make for this radio. As of yet, they haven't released any cases for this radio. There are cases that fit, but they haven't. There aren't any official cases, and it definitely doesn't come with the radio. This one, it only cost me an extra, I think, $30 to get the case and a receiver with the radio. The gimbals, this one you can get the M9 gimbals, which are the Hall Effect milled gimbal replacements. As of yet, the M7s for the X7 haven't been released. They are due to be released in the next month or so, and then that'll balance out these two. The other thing is replacement shells. You can get a replacement shell for either of them in the standard colours. So you can get this one in white or black, and you can get this one in silver. But the X9 also has a lot of arty shells. A lot of people used to hydro dip these shells. And FreeSky saw the market and just went, yeah, we'll start printing some and sending them out. So you can actually get them now with it not just printed on, it's in the plastic. So the shell, you can get like a carbon one, and there's ones with different pictures. I'll maybe find some pictures and put them across the top. But there's lots of different shells you can get for this. There's also a whole bunch of third-party accessories for the X9. Which includes custom shells, it includes mods for your radio, it includes lots of other things. There aren't as many for the X7 simply because it's newer. I mean, it's a cheap radio and there are going to be lots of people that get it, so I guarantee there will be a whole heap of mods available for it in the future. but as of right now, this radio is quite new, so there isn't as much. That's really the main difference. Well, the main difference is the X9 is a better radio. You do get more for it, but do you get $80 more for it? And it's not even $80 when you take into account the fact that you need to buy a battery for your X7, and if you don't have a charger, you need to get a charger for your X7. The price difference becomes a lot less. So is it worth getting the X9? Yeah, it probably still is. It does give you some extra features. Do you need those features? That's the question. If you're a quad pilot, you probably don't need the sliders on the side. You probably don't need the extra buttons. I mean, heck, I only use one button to arm, and I use this button over here just to read out my voltage, and when I flick it, so in its upright position, it only reads the voltage when it's low. If I want to know my battery voltage, I flick it down and it starts reading my battery voltage. I don't use any of the other buttons. It was the same with the X7. I don't use the sliders on the side. I don't use the extra buttons. Switches. I may have used the switches previously to change modes, but I don't change modes out of acro anymore. So I don't even bother binding them to anything anymore. They use the same receivers, so you can always get this one, and if it turns out you need more switches or you need the sliders, you can always then upgrade, and you don't need to change your receivers in everything, which is a great feature. FreeSky also do the Horus, which has almost the same inputs as the X9, except it's a much nicer build radio. This is still plastic, cheap plastic. This is also cheap plastic. Whereas the Horus is a much nicer metal case. I need to put my hands in shot really for this. It's a much nicer metal case. It's again more like this form factor, but it's got a big colour screen up the top. It's got some extra sliders and some other inputs, which is great. It's got a lot of extra features. It's also what, $800? It's a lot more expensive. It's a top-end radio. These are not top-end radios. These are both fairly cheap radios. But for what you're paying, these give you great features. Personally, I use this radio more than this one. This feels better in my hands. It has all the features I need, and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with the X9. And like I said, if you need the extra sliders or the extra button, extra switches, this is a great radio as well. But personally, X7 for me. If you like this video, then give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments, leave them in the comments below. Thanks very much.